Hi, I'm Dr. Wan Lee Young. I'm a practicing family doctor here in Salford, and I'm also a Lee International instructor teaching Lishi, a Taoist family system of health arts that involves Taoist tai-chi, Kaiman Taoist yoga, meditation, breathing exercises. I've heard of practitioners learning about the Tao through music or through calligraphy, and that's what's brought me here to the Tien Tao Temple in Salford. I'm here to speak to some representatives of the temple and find out what their understanding of the Tao is and see if we have any shared experiences. If you could just introduce yourselves and explain what your connection to the temple is.
Okay, I'm Eve von Smith. My connection to the temple is I'm a healer, so I oversee all the healing that goes on in the temple and the courses, and so that part of the temple is really getting stronger and growing, because the more people that come to the temple, the healthier they are getting, because the Tao and healing walks hand in hand.
I was in this Tao since 1994, and I had my blessing in London. So I had a home temple myself in London. So I've just recently moved up here just to help out within the temple.
A lot of people won't have heard of the Tao, especially people in the West, and those that do see it as something Chinese. Do you think it's something that you have to be Chinese to search for or look for the Tao?
Not really, no. In my experience, in London we have a lot of Jamaican who has received the Tao, and in Manchester it's usually the white community who has received the Tao. A good example is Yvonne, and she has brought a lot of her friends here for the blessing as well.
Good. I mean, I find that with my own kind of Lishi classes, there aren't very many Chinese people, in fact, that do them, but they still practice and search inwards through their practice. And yet you don't have to. You just have to want to look for it and have that affinity for it, I think.
Yeah, a lot of it has to do with affinity. So it doesn't matter who you are. Yeah. So because we all, our soul are the same. So all of us have a soul. So our soul are the same. Doesn't matter who you are, where you are from. So anyone who's welcome here.
I mean, a lot of people won't understand what you mean by affinity. Could you kind of explain it a bit more?
Affinity means it could be in your past life, you have affinity with the person, or sometimes if you talk about affinity, it's the connection.
In Lishi, the tai chi practice that I do, a lot of people have what we call serendipity, and if they walk through the door of the classroom, there's a reason why they've walked through that door, and so they hopefully will gain the benefits of kind of what we do, because that's the way of the Tao, that's the way things are, and so I think it's very similar to your idea of affinity as well.
Synchronicity as well. So somebody will come and mention it, and when the time's right, everything falls into place, and it's just a perfect flow to enable you to come to the temple or receive a blessing. When the time's right, everything flows.
So another way that people get kind of introduced to the Tao is through the yin-yang symbol, because people know about the yin-yang symbol, you see it everywhere.
So yin and yang is basically Chinese philosophy. It's the it complement each other, and so it's the positive and the negative. So what we normally know as positive and negative. So they actually they form a good combination. So they complement each other as well. So in our daily life, we actually come across a lot of the yin and yang situation, where the yin will be, say, the moon, the yang will be the sun, and also it will be male or female. So heaven and earth and heaven. So these are the yin and yang signs. So it has a lot of impact in our lives.
I mean, it's a very big part of kind of Chinese culture, whether people believe in the Tao or not, the yin yang is very much a part of the culture of traditional Chinese medicine, because in a similar kind of understanding in Lishi we talk about things being the same thing but having two sides. So like you have the dark side of the mountain and the bright side, but it's still the mountain. And because we do a health set of arts, often we find that if you're too yang or you're too yin, that can lead to imbalance, and it's the imbalance that can cause problems with your health. And I suppose that would lead nicely onto the 5 elements, because yin and yang may be a bit too simplistic, but then you can break it further down into the 5 elements. Do you know of the 5 elements? Or?
The 5 elements are metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. So this could be represented in different. The 5 elements have a close connection to us. So if you talk about metal, it's white in color, so it's to do with our lungs. So wood is green in color, it's relating to our liver. Water is black in color, so it's to do with our kidneys. Fire is our heart. So, and earth is our spleen. So these are all interrelated. So it has a lot of impact in our lives as well. So in the traditional Chinese culture of Confucius teaching, so the first one, the metal will be benevolence. So, and also the wood is actually righteousness.
Right.
The third one is propriety. The fire is wisdom, and the earth is faith. So all this combination, it's actually also to do to relating to our character as well.
So the 5 elements you can kind of superimpose into lots of things. There's, you were talking about the organs there, but you were also talking about colours. There must be kind of many things that you can apply the 5 elements and the principles of the 5 elements onto, and how they interrelate with each other. For instance, like you were mentioning, wood can kind of help coax heat and create a fire, but also the fire can be put out by water, and so there's balances and arrows and how they kind of work with each other.
So they're actually interrelated. So there's an enhancing and also the opposing side to the 5 elements.
Fascinating. So in terms of looking for the Tao itself, could I ask you how you cultivate the Tao? How do you go about cultivating?
In everyday situations, every situation that comes up that is out of balance, that's the time of cultivating. So we look within. We don't put our attention on what's going on outside, otherwise we'd be, if we relied on others to make us happy, or we would be really out of harmony. So we look within and we start to cultivate on how the situation's making us feel. So we change our thoughts, our speech, work on how we're feeling. Instead of putting the blame out there, we go deeper within. And as a healer, that's so powerful, because the mind controls the body. So if there's thoughts going on in the head that are fearful and worrisome, then the body starts to create adrenaline and cortisol and blocks the immune system. So when we see things from different perceptions and bring peace to the person, then the immune system balances and everything starts to balance. And so that is how I personally cultivate every single day, every single situation.
Right. That's interesting, because in Lishi, we talk about how everything begins with the mind. So any of our actions and movements, the thought is there first, and then what we say, the energy follows, and so the movement follows that. So it all begins with the mind. When we practice our health arts, because it's much more physically based, with kind of tai chi forms and yoga, Taoist yoga that we call Kaiman. We cultivate through kind of qigong exercises, but it's still very much about looking inwards, and we meditate. But then going back to the yin-yang theory, we have a yin set of arts which are very internal, looking inwards and cultivating, but that would create imbalance in itself. So we have a yang set of arts which are more external, flowing. It's more about bigger movements, interactions with other people, and flowing with them, so that you've got the yang side of things as well. And everything that we do is in balance. And like you say, all of those principles that you apply to your training practice, the more that you can take it outside of the training hall, so take it outside of the temple and move it into your everyday life, the more therapeutic and beneficial it seems.
Yeah.
In your daily life, the right speech is very important. So sometimes you might say something might hurt somebody unknowingly. So you have to be very conscious of what your actions are. And also the fundamental is to control your temper and your bad habits. So to get rid of these two, it's easier said than done, but we try to do that. But with the help of the Buddhas, we actually, with our prayer every day, we do the vows. So, and it's also giving us the balance, the calmness as well.
Absolutely, because I feel that a lot of these kind of bad thoughts create a kind of negative energy, and it's a feeling that people don't like about themselves. Feeling guilty, it makes you feel awful. When you're angry, you feel twisted inside. It physically does something to you. And I think the more that you can be nice or have positive ways of thinking and feeling, the more it reflects back inside, and it has a nicer feeling and a nicer way to live yourself.
And it's not to take things personally, because if somebody else is going through not a bad time, then they're not going to be nice. So when they're not, it's not to take it personally. It's something going on within their lives. So it's to sort of get ourselves out of the way instead of focusing on me all the time and projecting and compassion to everybody around us. So, once we come into alignment to that, and if we get knocked out of alignment, that is the time we cultivate, we come and pray and meditate.
And I think that's a real kind of, that aligns with kind of the thinking of the Tao as well, because when the strange thing is that the more that you look into yourself, the nicer you are outwards to other people. It's like back to go forwards, and the more you look inwards and you don't take things personally, the nicer you become, and that influences you. Like when you're driving and someone lets you go by and it flashes you past, you get there's a nice feeling about that. And I think when someone cuts you up, it creates this kind of negative feeling. And so if you can let someone pass, that gives a kind of nice feeling to someone else, and it's kind of spreading those feelings through.
And everybody is a mirror, aren't they? They're a reflection, so everybody is going to create something within us. The mirror is within ourselves, so whatever anybody brings up, it's actually within us. It's nothing to do with the person. So then, it's just seeing that everything's a reflection of ourselves, that we are imprinting everything out there. So we see everything through our own perception, and it's not everybody else's perception. So everybody seems to be in a tunnel vision of this is how life is, and they think everybody else sees it that way. When you give sort of space for people to be themselves and act the way, because we're all so diverse, then everybody starts to be able to grow and express themselves from an authenticity that they've never been able to before.
A real place from kind of inside, definitely.